Okay. You remind me after the meeting, I'll put a title on top of this.
What? I don't know. He just sounded like that.
So this is like the wide path.
This is
That's that jam thing.
and then because you're complaining about manual here. So he wasn't supposed to.
I didn't know any of this one there.
What?
I'm saying that it wasn't a lot of conversations going on. Now it's just really hard to do a lot. But he never pushed it. And so.
It's only that's all there.
Here are three here already, 1, 2, 3. But you said the new one's in. Are you ready?
Yeah.
And it's not about it. Yeah, it's not about it after.
So you said that Eileen's not going to be here, so we must have gone.
Eileen asked me to update on the website.
Oh, she's not coming?
No.
What? She's the one who's done it all.
Okay, so why don't you start?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. All right.
Okay, so why don't we go on and start?
Your chair.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
so the first thing we have is the website.
Okay, so we met last week. Civic Plus have been delaying it a little bit, but we're shooting for the 21st. For the official rollout next week, I'll do some back end stuff that they're explaining to me. I think we have to switch to DNS, which I'm gonna follow their instructions, whatever that means. And we'll.
What is D?
Something on the back end that they explained I had to switch from the old site to the new site. But I'm gonna sit down with their project manager and he'll run me through what I need to do on my side to fix the site.
It's to move stuff over.
We moved content over, but I think it's literally the address now redirects to the new website rather than our original website.
Okay.
I think that's what that is. So we'll start doing that next week, which is the 7th. Is next week?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then by that 21st, which is the 3rd week of the month, we hope to be up and live. I talked to the people to beat you guys to the past, talked to the people on Civic Plus who are working with the town code. And I think I have given them everything they need to, so I think once that website's up, we can within the week also transfer over that code. So first the website goes up and then they just put the code of ordinances up on our website. And at that point, we're in a pretty good spot with the website.
And once we get going, then I'd say next fall or are you gonna be for the clerk, or who's gonna be doing the, like, say there's an announcement, they want to put it in there? How's that gonna work?
I want to see how much either our boards are interested in helping with some of that.
Yeah.
Web upkeep, if not, it has to become staff, so
I probably get some of this, something Christmas announcements for that kind of idea. It'd be nice to keep it current. You know, my wife ran one and she said she looked at it almost every day, or almost every week, but just for 5-10 minutes and just to put an announcement, put meetings in there, put you know, there's minutes or something, just to make it current. So it's not like the one we have now has meetings from, it's not been kept up, it meetings from May. There you go, announcements.
So like agendas, town administrator, meetings, town administrator,
That,
minutes,
yeah,
clerk,
or events.
yeah. And then events and like the calendar.
Yeah, yeah.
That's another one. I guess it would fall between both of our staff. and see, but that's something I would like to see if I could get a volunteer.
Yeah, I mean. we
Yeah.
can-
I think my personal bias would be when you have volunteers, often after a while, things get,
You don't have time to-
they don't have continuity, it doesn't get done. I think it would be, I would suggest, in my mind, you're better off when you've finally gotten a clerk
Mhm.
to have a clerk do a lot of that, you know,
Have a backup.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'd suggest that. And in a way, it's also because that's gonna be in a way the dispository for all your information.
Mhm.
For agenda and stuff like that, for like freedom of information request. So, you're better off making sure that all gets on there.
No, they have one contact person. So
Yes.
if anybody has a better, if they can contact that person, and say, hey, on the website, can you put this on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
I mean, obviously, that becomes one of the things that you need to consider in the hiring of a clerk.
She gave you any other information?
Max,
Was she on? Okay.
yeah, so it has a drop down, like you saw during the presentation, you can pin using Google Maps. But in the meantime, if we end up developing maps through town council, discretion through that budget, we can integrate that later. I think that also works into parking. And then we have a how do I, which would fit the Q&A portion.
Yeah, that's the most part. I gave her a list of things for that. I think that's the interactive part is just so important.
I think the drop down menus we contracted out, so we have to stick with those, but those feel like those would get 90% of what we need out of the website.
So the Q&A would come from stuff you already have.
Yeah, we'd have to, and then you have to update content, so.
Yeah.
Eileen and Amelie have been working the last 2 weeks on transferring stuff over and then writing up. So, they've been asking me for forms, et cetera, and then they write up and draft what they need for the website. Then I cover town code and ordinances.
Well, I think one thing, how do I think I mentioned, how do I Zoom a meeting? Or how do I contact an administrator or a counselor? And or report a concern, those kind of things. So that we're getting information from the public directly.
So we have a submittal, like a prompt we could put, and then you have I don't think I can put a drop down now with the how do I, but I can kind of address some of either trying to edit it without, let's see, maybe I can get something that's in purpose, what you're looking for, maybe not exactly what you saw on another website, but I get where you're coming from.
Did she share any of the ones that I wrote about that?
Not in detail.
There's
She meant-
I think that's no, but that's those kind of things. It's like, how do I do this? How do I do that? I think that's so important. But I got a lot of this. We kind of changed a little bit from Wordsville. Wordsville is a great how do I kind of thing, and I think it's just so communicative. But you can still love that.
Okay.
It's just a rough copy. But I think it's gonna be wonderful to have. I think it sounds like you really worked on it hard.
I think we're gonna be glad with that.
Oh, it's so much better than what we have now. And so much more important. It would be used a lot more too, I think.
So on the lease, she finishes up soon.
This is her last month,
But then the place, they're
around.
You sound like.
Now, well, with the website, I just asked,
The stuff downstairs.
picked it up quick.
I got a question with the town code, so you're just posting authority.
We did a recodification, so we have to wrap up the recodification. The last thing was putting names on it. like council members and everything. And then at that point, we hope since they did the brunt of the recodification, then it's just digitized and then we can throw it up since Civic Plus or some subsidiary of Civic Plus is doing the recodification. Yeah.
Cause it was at 30%, like, completed for like 2 years. Is it because we just didn't have a website to attach it to, or what was the deal with that?
I don't know. When I started off, we were going back and forth with them. And then it feels like it's done now.
It doesn't seem like it took too long, but I was curious.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it should have taken that long to that point. I know last summer was when we reviewed it with Jim. And then we went over the winter into it. And then they said, right about now, we would wrap it up.
Because of changes that will be done
Mhm.
in it, I mean, they added, there was on the civic code, they were gonna add in things that have been passed, but there's other changes that may be done. Wouldn't the council have to then reapprove the whole new civic code?
The only thing they're changing is like Virginia code and stuff that needs to get corrected like that.
Because I know when I looked at some sections when we thought, could we do it as a committee?
Mhm.
There was a lot of things in other codes and other towns and stuff that were not present, and if they were using as a format code from other towns, there'd be some sections that would have been unique, that would have been added in that were not in the original code from
Not-
Scottsville.
Putting in new code, because that would definitely have to be
Yeah,
town council. A lot of that is cleaning up, so some code reference like the Virginia code.
well, I
So
mean,
it's-
those, I know they had to update the references.
Yeah.
I mean, like I was looking at, I'll just give you an example, I was looking at one of the code on animals in town.
Hmm.
And the code the Scottsville code didn't have some things about certain animals that weren't supposed to be kept and stuff like that, that a lot of the other towns had.
Mhm.
You know, people didn't want pig farms in town
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and there was just no mention of it in the Scottsville code.
Mhm.
So, you know, if they bring in stuff like that, then it would have to be passed by the council.
But that would be a change in code.
That'd be a change in code, yeah.
I think that's a bigger question than recodification. I think feels separate. That's like, what kind of legislation, what kind of code ordinances do you want like town
Yeah.
council to, rather than just essentially cleaning up and digitizing all
Yeah.
this?
So they're not putting anything new on.
Now, Jim, we did like 3 meetings with their attorney, so Jim sat in on it too, because he's our counsel.
Yeah. Okay. The other big thing is the maintenance issues.
Mhm.
From my standpoint, I'm sort of. Do the transfer of. Going to interim to then going to a permanent, you know, I haven't
Mm,
pushed on anything because. I just didn't. And so I don't know where we are
So-
with that, what is,
I talked to Bill a decent amount about it, because he can keep some visibility on it, and he is our council member on this board. Part of it is I'm right now doing 2 things at once, so I am having just trouble getting out of the office here and there. But I have been trying to pay attention to anybody bringing in concerns or priorities, and then working with that, and then trying to communicate it. I think it might be more useful. That August meeting that town council said they wanted to come back and discuss maintenance once I feel a little bit situated, because to jump the shark, I'm hoping to wrap up looking for a clerk this week. And then move as quickly as I can with 2 council members to hire a clerk, and then start offloading stuff I'm doing. That was old clerk stuff, and then take on new stuff, which would probably include which would include that among other things.
So
It's on the agenda for the work session. I mean, if you can make it, that would be great. That's
Yeah,
2 weeks from today or something, yesterday.
there's a work session.
And it's on the agenda for maintenance, specifically maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no,
and Eileen's working on some materials, so we can frame conversation. and hear from
Yeah,
town council.
And I think she got a lot of your stuff. I think, something report card and all that stuff. She's got a lot of work.
Becky asked for that, and then
yeah, I sent some, I didn't want to overload
I
it.
know,
Becky was
there's so
like,
much that
July
people-
4th, and let's not do anything, and then it's like, we're hiring somebody new, you know what I mean, and so
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways we can approach this.
So no work session for this August in 2
Yeah, you
weeks.
come to, that's August 15th, 14th,
whatever's the second.
22nd.
Is Kevin gonna be able to present? Because in the past, we've come to the meetings and then everyone talks about the stuff.
Yeah.
Kevin doesn't want to do it all, and no one,
It'd be
he
good,
doesn't get an
it'd
opportunity.
be good if we had some sort of recommendation. Of course, they know our recommendations from the past.
right, I'm not sure, I mean, I guess. In fairness, I mean, I will step back if you all are now doing something, I mean, as far as the town council. But if you're not, then I'm
Well,
I'm
the
gonna
town
jump right
council's
in.
I think a lot of the time, not in with tickets, except for Eddie, and I think in me, I don't even know the other informed how I know what's going on in town as much. So what they know is what's been reported to our committee over the years, or the year, and they've seen the report cards and the last interim from town administrator. And she worked with Cody and Bobby or two, and let them know that there's concerns and this, that, and the other, but it's a tough thing because it's a matter of vision and self motivation, work ethic, that kind of thing. But he does need direction. I think he does okay. He's directed. I mean, you directed him, you kind of told him this and he'll do something, but when he's left alone, people have said, he's not around, or he's, up there at the shed there, or he's not, I don't know, there's, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I guess here's the thing that I think it's missed in so many different ways, but Brittany, the person that's the cupcake place, she put on a couple hours ago. She was talking about, and again, Brittany is just a business owner. I mean, she's a young business owner. She's trying to figure out, but she was like, I don't understand why people would open a business here. They increase, but yet can't maintain the sidewalks, trash overflowing out of the trash cans, and no budget to advertise events or even make the town better. Now, I'm not saying that she's 100% correct, but what I am saying is we want people like her to be in the town, to give her passion to be in the town. And when that is the perception that you have, right or wrong, that is not how you create a town. And I struggle with the fact that here we have somebody that has a pretty popular business that is operating, and that's the way she feels. And I'm not saying it's the right way for her to feel or the wrong way for her to feel, but what I'm saying is this is the way she's feeling. And she was talking about some things that she's learning. She hasn't operated a business before. There's other things in this post that is that she's learning. But again, as some of these things we should not be, it shouldn't, that's not the perception that you want to have out there when you have somebody with her following on social media to be putting out. And there were some other things that came up after that it's like no one wants to talk about it. But I'm like, nobody wants to talk about it, but it's the same thing of keeping your head in the sand. I get frustrated by that. I would be quite honest to say that, I'm not. I'm glad that town council is taking initiative on
We'll
it.
see what happens. We're kicking it down the road for, well. Yeah, I think we do need to make some decisions about what to do with, there's a lot of ideas out there. Your idea about contracting out is a good idea. The other idea I was talking to, the chief the other day, and this is an idea, you know, like we did with Amelie. We hire, a couple of high school kids in the summer to support and do some things. You know, you could hire a kid to do reading all day long or two, and or to design them something like that, because you know, but you definitely, I think he definitely needs some support in the summer. We need some more people in the summer, because you know, these picnic tables, you can't move those picnic tables by yourself. You're gonna need somebody to move those picnic tables, or maybe stand or whoever. You know, that some of that stuff is heavy labor. But the other concern for me is you know, what exactly does it do during the off season, you know, and you brought that up too, like.
I mean,
a lot would be done, and I don't think anybody here knows exactly what those are unless you really know the town, like Eddie does, or somebody who's got experience, you know, like paint this and paint that, or clean this and clean that, or, you know, the roads, you know, the flat shovel, you know, get that stuff, but there's a lot of things. Anyway, that's
I don't understand the difficulty, I guess is my question. I mean, if there was a list, you do the list, if you don't do the list, they're not performing a job. In
Well,
private practice, that doesn't happen, and that's the part. Well, I guess it could happen,
Yeah.
but it's on private. It's not on the residents of the town of Scottsville and the business owners. When you have business owners that are coming in at 4 a.m. in the damn morning to
Yeah.
bust their ass all day to have a business, to pay taxes to the damn town of Scottsville, and we can't, as a town, make decisions that actually affect them. I mean, that is just poor government. I mean.
but you know what, I just wanna, I don't know what to think, but I just wanna say, you know, I know the job itself is, and as I follow, there are times where you have to drop everything and take care of what's, you know, like say that we had to do festival, we had to Bateau, we had to put stuff. Now, he can't do his regular service things, but you gotta put up flags, you gotta put up signs, you gotta do this, take them down, and so you gotta change your schedule, but again, you gotta be flexible, but if you have a self-directed person, you could do that.
And I think that what you're really saying is, first, somebody has to direct him. And second thing is somebody has to set priorities for him. And that even when there's a festival, there are certain things that should be number one. So cleaning, making sure the garbage cans on Valley Street should be like one of number one, no matter what else. And then, because that's very visible to people and businesses and stuff like that. And it shouldn't take that long. The bathroom should be number two. And then
We've already contracted that out. I don't even know why we have to do that.
well, whatever. I mean, so I think you set a few priorities and said, okay, you do these first, and then if we have special things, you do them afterwards. And you make sure that, you know, these is what you need to do this week or this day. And we've had that list. It's a pretty big, long list. But it's a list that's definitely doable.
We're just having the same discussion.
And we've had this discussion for
The
year and a half.
bottom line is either the person can do the job or not. The bottom line is the past administrator felt that the job, no one should be interfering with him. He should take care of it all, let nothing change. Bottom line is it doesn't take long to empty trash cans, but for some reason it does. You know, we can keep going down the line. So the idea of saying that we need to add more people and we need to get more money and we need to have a person who wants to do the job or not. It's that simple. And we need someone, and that's gonna be your job when you get to it, someone to oversee it and put those expectations out. But the bottom line is this job was done totally fine by Dave, and he took care of all of that and more. And then I'm constantly hearing, well, there's too much work, or it takes too much to do it. Saying, well, we have a guy who used to do it. And now we're saying somehow the world has changed and we need 3 or 4 guys. It just needs to be addressed. And personally, I think us reporting to the council is kind of old. I think right now you've got a town administrator. It's his responsibility. Let him report every month to town council what he has done and what he's been doing to improve it or whatever. it needs to come from you, because we didn't have that
the-
last time it was hands off, just leave it alone, he's doing a great job, and no one was listening, that he wasn't doing a great job. You know, so I just think like, you know, I get very frustrated with us doing this over.
Yeah, and over. The only
There's
thing I would
place
say is that when I was managing the people and I had issues, I met with them weekly and I made notes and put them in a file.
Mhm.
Because you need to document it that you've tried remediation over a period of time.
Mhm.
And so,
Matt already did that, but he hasn't said there was any issue.
issue. But so when you start meeting with them, make sure that you've set priorities. You can give them, mention that and then mention your follow-up. You meet every week or every day or whatever it is. And so he knows for sure that you're have expectations and that if he's not meeting it, he knows that. And then, that I don't know what your HR policy is, but that's really important when you get to the point where you have to make a decision.
So just to be clear, town council is bringing this up.
Okay,
Work session.
I don't know where we're gonna go with it, but everyone's got to. You know, they want AI provides stronger views than some of the others because we've been here longer and we've seen the house and we know what it was like when, what it was like 20 years ago. This is really a beautiful, town and there were people, things were taken care of. And, unless you know the town and where things need to be done, we get used to it, you get used to that. Whatever the streets with gravel and weeds growing up, and you get used to that. Unless you know what it's saying, that has to be.
Maintenance needs to be the top priority.
I
It's
mean,
something that everyone's been complaining about for years.
I don't. I mean, if you don't take an action, then it is not an issue. for The town is what the people to say, but yet you come in as a town and say, we want to increase meals on stuff.
Yeah.
And you want to do this and that is kicking the can down the road.
Right.
I don't understand the governance part of understanding the function of a town. And to me, it's very important that somebody address Brittany's thing here. I mean, I don't know how much she brings into the town of Scottsville as far as meals tax, and I guess it's really not important. The point is she brings something in, and if she brings something in, that should be addressed. But if that's the way she feels, what is the process? I mean, we have a process in place that addresses stuff like that.
I think the process is what Javier. You start, when you get your clerk and get your feet on your ground, then you start with a process of meeting with Cody and making expectations and reports and stuff like that. And then if you can't meet it, then you're in a position where you can say, okay, we need to make changes.
This has happened, correct me if I'm wrong, that is overdone, nothing changed. Correct?
No, because I didn't manage code. So
I'm asking you, if someone worked, I ended up next to Matt. He's doing diaries, he's going over stuff, he's directing stuff, everything that I said, and it's already been done, and nothing's changed, is my point. Right?
Well,
So that suggests something.
So he diary person, the government service admin had been into all the meetings. So I'm assuming he has had communication with Cody as a supervisor
and I just,
or was.
yeah, well, I think Matt got to a point at the end where he said he's gonna leave it to after he leaves. And I think you're just gonna have to pick it up and then give him a finite time. I don't think 6 weeks or something like that, 8 weeks. Because he's done everything in the past and say, we have to make a decision now.
And I think this is approaching the point where it's probably prudent to talk with my council members about this.
Yes,
As
a closed session.
I think
Yeah.
I know where you guys are coming from and any advice, I'd appreciate that.
And then just go back to, there was discussion, a couple months ago, that take action or have Matt take action, because we need to leave it. And somebody's coming in if they wanted to give it a motion, hire somebody new, that would be the new town administrator. Instead of just having an interim and then, yeah,
Maybe we talk about this.
you've heard about that, right?
No, maybe we talk about this later,
Yeah.
as between council and board administrator.
Well, one thing I will just get to illustrate, not saying to do it. If you put an ad in the paper right now, advertising his salary, his benefits, his reimbursement, his privileges, and his retirement and everything,
I'd
you would
rather,
get a dozen people.
I'd rather talk about human resources this day with council members or in my office later.
I didn't say to do it,
I-
I'm saying
I-
just to illustrate, I wasn't suggesting that.
I know, I'm just being careful, I think you're also being careful.
Yeah, well, what I would say is, what I'd love to see is we work towards getting a conclusion of some, because
Yes.
I don't like seeing things like
You've
that.
been to the meeting.
falling. Well, I mean, we've been working on it for a while. Let's try to come up to a conclusion. Let's say by the end of the, I mean, I'm gonna, in my hopes, let's get it straight by the end of the year, so next year we won't be there.
I'm hoping with what
And-
Eileen's been helping me out, taking that time, and then with you guys setting up a meeting that we can kind of get that ball rolling.
Well, if the workshop is next week, you can do,
2 weeks.
or 2 weeks, you can do a closed session on that same thing. So you can do it right then and there.
Yeah.
You don't have to keep kicking it down.
Well, I mean, so, but I mean, basically, I guess this committee's recommendation is that. In which we need to,
I think it's.
well, what is the recommendation?
Yeah, I
Maybe
think
we
y'all
thought
know.
of
Y'all
strategic plan.
Figured it
Yeah. With the strategic planning. That was done. Eileen did it. And I looked at it. And I didn't have anything where we really would add anything else to add to that.
Well, I think with that, something that I kept bringing up is that a different way to look at it is to focus on commercial and developing commercial instead of trying to develop high density to try to be able to put in town tax, to try to be able to offset it. And that was suggested, we said that every meeting, but it didn't show up in the report. And that's something that we're always avoiding. We've got a big commercial area out there that is underdeveloped, and underutilized, and that's where we make most of our money. And that should be part of our strategic plan. That should be something we should be looking at, and it's not in that report. And it's nothing new, we've talked about it at all the meetings, but that is where we make our money. To even get our town up to last year's budget, we would have to double the town taxes. Those are the numbers, and I don't think that's realistic. But putting a new bank in there, I know that's silly, right? But putting more, filling up that commercial area, you know. Developing the empty areas, all that kind of stuff, that's what brings in the money, we're gonna see that at Tiger Field. You know, at Tiger Field, we're moving forward and moving forward fast, we're gonna see that impact. But the commercial area, how we make our money, which is why we made our deal with the county to be able to absorb extra land. And so that we could have that commercial area, we could keep that money. Residential money does not stay with us, but it's not in there, and I think that's something that really, keep bringing up, but I think it should be in there.
Is that, I would agree. I thought that when I read they put tourism and business development in one box.
I'm talking commercial.
No, and I thought, well, I thought the tourism is one box and business and commercial development is a second box.
It's a business. When you think of a storefront business, if you add up all the storefront, it's not bringing in that much. If you add up something like the Tiger Fuel Suite bringing in, it'll make a big difference. That's what I'm saying. I'm talking about commercial. You know, I have a little shop across the way and I pay money, but it's not that much. That's the way it works out. Tiger Fuel is going to bring in more. Food Line brought in more. We need to consider the commercial side of this, not just the business side or small business, I guess. Right.
So, I mean, I guess for me right now, and I don't know what the town can do, is I may have asked somebody, is there anything going on in the old plant? Because they said they were gonna put this, you know, since the apartments weren't gonna be done, they were gonna try to develop that. And there's nothing going on there. It's still,
It's off the market.
what?
It's off the market.
Dr. Hurd took it off the
It's
market.
not gonna be,
He's
It's
selling
just
one of the
storage.
warehouses.
it's just gonna be state storage.
He's selling them to warehouses and Stanford and moving all this stuff in there. So it's probably an idle thing.
So it'll be storage, it'll be,
Didn't Southern Development buy it or have option?
They just have an option to.
They're not gonna.
they
So,
might still be in a contract with a long range bid.
so that's still an issue that the town isn't getting anywhere.
And it comes down to the owner of the property.
Yeah,
Going circles on this.
There's a small area plan about it too, that's, they're thinking if they want to do something, they can small laid out.
I don't know if there anything for the comprehensive plan that could help.
I think they need to address that, but, you know, small area plan should be in there and maybe updated or something, but. I don't know if the comprehensive plan is dealing with that right now.
So so the strategic plan, was that presented to the council?
Yeah, approved.
It was approved.
Yeah.
Could we bring it back and say that we think that there should be a more emphasis on commercial development?
Yeah. You work that. Because.
It's a suggestion that we,
Like that one. Yeah, or I could say something about that. Representative. I did say that, it's like do an update or something.
I tend to look at that whole exercise as far as maybe setting up like potential goals in some direction. And, you know, I think that wow, that's a whole lot more detailed than what I could ever do or something. I mean, I still think you have to write down what your goals are of what you're trying to do so that you have some type of expectation, or not expectation, or some drive to hit those. And I don't disagree on the commercial side. I mean, it's, to me, it's all part of the thing. What whether it's in there or not, what ideally I'd like to see is some movement towards those versus not. I mean, it's one thing to talk about stuff, but there's another thing to actually make motions to get there. And I mean, my experience with maintenance has been that there is no way in hell a lot of this stuff would ever be even remotely more than an idea. Okay, so and I know that there is a trying to line up of thinking that we don't want to stop, or we can do things unilaterally. I mean, or at the same time, I guess you could say. My concern is if we have these, and we can definitely add commercial stuff in there, but there needs to be some movement from town council or in some fashion to support these ideas from even your standpoint. I mean, I think before, I think it was the other way around from the town administrator. I felt like there was some stuff that was going on, but I don't know if it involved as much as maybe what it should have been. And now we have the public coming to some of these meetings. We've had some other conversations that was at the meetings on planning. I mean, when some of the apartments came, I mean, there was positive discussion in a number of ways. I'd like to see us move a little bit further towards getting something accomplished somewhere. I mean, rather than us just talking about it.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure what you're talking about. I think there's always been interest in filling the empty spaces in the town and up at the shopping center. But I don't know what we can do for that.
Well,
I don't know what town council can do. I can't, we try to recruit people, but.
Well, I know, I mean, just conversation, in a private conversation, but if it was here, it was, Eddie talked about, when the apartments got turned down, Eddie had mentioned, well, corporations are coming back and there might be a chance for us to have a corporation, come into that, and my thinking of it is that's the case. Then my task for you, Eddie, is to find somebody that's going to come in here and do that. And that's sort of the outreach type that, in my opinion, needs to, happen. And then, but again, if somebody was coming and they're reading stuff about the town, that's not that, I'm telling you. And I have that with folks that, I have had that with folks that are doing Tiger Fuel right now, actually. One of the person was like, we don't know where, we we don't know what anything. No, here's the thing with Tiger Fuel is, Tiger Fuel knows if they build what they're going to build, that it is going to attract people to come here and it'll be successful. They have a business model and stuff. But when you're brainstorming and you're asking somebody to spend a lot of money in a town, I mean, no one comes in with an open pocket to help somebody without helping themselves in the same process. They will help, but they want to make sure that what they're going to be investing in order to do something is going to work. And some of the negatives and positives of what we have in Scottsville have to be real conversations, and then we try to do stuff to figure out where to bridge that gap. And some of that, unfortunately, is town. I'm not saying town council, but again, it's a combination of everybody. Either Matthew or talking to somebody. When Matthew is out working and trying to talk up the town of Scottsville as far as options, he's got to be supported in doing that all the way down the line, and anything that needs to be done should be done in a manner that we're all in this together. One, Matthew's 100% correct, the commercial side, versus a small business owner per se, they're all important, but let's try to find some of the bigger things and try to make bigger differences, or at least have it as a goal. Who cares if you shoot for it and it doesn't work? You never know what you might get in return.
Well, a perfect example is how many conversations has people associated with council, with people that are helping out with council, with the mayor, had with Southern Development and Eflons and Dr. Hurd. And yes, they own 80% of the developable property for the last 30 years. We know that. But right now, we've got a company that owns at least half of our commercial area. Who's had a conversation with Tiger Fuel? Who's talked to Tiger Fuel? I've tried to reach out. I don't get through. But who's talked to Tiger Fuel? Who's presented these ideas? Because there's no encouragement. Because if they were encouraged, I think they might turn and go, I could do a little more than a gas station.
But they're concerned on the perception from that standpoint, and that's what they're not. Money, a lot of people think money is an issue. Money is not the problem. There is all the money in the world that you want to potentially come towards Scottsville, if it's something that people want. And it makes sense for the people and makes sense for the individual that's coming. Now, there's some things you're not going to see a Walmart come into Scottsville.
Right.
We don't have that, but there are things that could potentially come in, and I don't know all the answers. All that I know is that they each have their own requirements. And when I say own requirements, sometimes they're going to want to see a certain density or a certain number of people around. It may be the realistic thing is we're not there yet. We're not going to have that type of population. It's not going to be there. But are there other things that could potentially work?
And it's like talking with Food Line and then later on with it's a distance standard, 2 or 3 miles in the radius you've gotten numbers, and they're all here. They don't understand it. It's kind of like, I hate to say it, you might meet up the traffic circle. It's not for the town of Scottsville. Most people are driving through that traffic circle. It's not, it's Elmore County people, it's Buckingham and Savannah people. But the commercial area, they have to understand how big the greater Scottsville area is and who supports that. And we have the smallest Food Line, yet the most profitable. Now we have the smallest Rite Aid. I guarantee it'll be the most profitable. Our ABC store, pretty small, and it does really well. It does. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean,
That shows a lot, and that's what we should be pushing to these bigger companies, saying Scottsville is a hell of a place to have.
Well,
So actually, in the middle of
So,
everything.
this one, it's a great idea, but so what are the factors set? One of them was that it's honest, right?
so they're
Them to come to us, Tiger Fuel to come to a meeting and we can talk to them and they come to
no,
us.
well, I think what I see is the council has what is supposed to be a development committee,
Yeah, but
which is not working.
No, so
And the development committee, economic development committee, needs to go out and talk to not only the Scottsville, but really the Albemarle Chamber of Commerce, the Fluvanna Chamber of Commerce, Buckingham Chamber of Commerce. It needs to talk to like the owners of the big business areas, to see what they would want or what the town could do. So that's the shopping center up there. It's actually not Tiger Fuel. It's actually 3 of the investors in Tiger Fuel or 4 of the owners. It's actually a separate company.
I get that.
Yeah,
It's like saying Southern
well,
Development.
yeah.
That's fair.
And stuff like that, and try to actually reach out to those groups to see what to happen, because if somebody's thinking about a business, who are they gonna go to? Well, we don't have a permanent person that would be a focus on a business here. So they'll go to the Chamber of Commerce in more likely in Charlottesville, Albemarle, Charlottesville, not down here. And see, what we could do to have them come down here and think about Scottsville and raise the issues that you say, because the Scottsville, the food line's very profitable. I don't know how busy the ABC store is, but I assume it's profitable. You're right. I know Food Lion is ridiculously profitable.
But the thing is, not all for that, it's for the town. If
Town
people
makes
are,
good money.
we had one of the things that I call, one of the most important things, we have called a leakage study. Okay, a leakage study, okay? That was basically what people in the town in this area are spending their money on anyway. Okay, they're already spending their money. Okay, the thing is, if you want to capture that, you provide the businesses that are already spending their money there. It's not like you have a new company that's coming in, nothing against Brittany selling cupcakes, okay? I told her, I was like, man, I don't know if you're gonna make it selling cupcakes. Okay, but the reality of it is, it was true. I didn't know that. It was wrong. But she's doing it. But if people are spending money on certain things, that's the things that as a town, if you're trying to fund stuff, that's what you want to be trying to go towards. But the other part of that is having a group that they feel warm and fuzzy about. And I do know they listen to the hearing, I mean, the public stuff online and stuff like that. They do listen to that and they get a temperature of what we have. And I mean, it's not gonna change overnight. But what I'm saying is start as a goal to try to get towards, because those are the folks that are gonna actually help fund the Scottsville. And Matthew's point is, he is not really good at, it feels good as far as being it, as far as a real estate tax. To me, it's sort of the same thing, but I'm looking at it as I want some more accountability. I'm looking at it for not to fund, I'm looking for upset citizens to come in here and say, guys, well, let's get the businesses here. I don't want to fund this stuff myself as a real estate tax. So you can't use it as a crutch. What I'm trying to say is more people that would come out and get upset. They would, potentially say, you can, but it's a bad weapon, and it could be used for the easy way out, such as not addressing maintenance for 2 years. Let's just keep kicking the can down the road. That's not what I'm advocating for. I'm advocating for the people. Here's the thing, there are 500 residents around Scottsville, people in the surroundings. Who knows if they may know somebody that might have an idea, and if Scottsville was more willing to, not even more willing, but if everybody was all on the same page, they might know somebody that says, hey, we've heard that with the family, different ideas from different things of potential things. None of them was able to work, but it wasn't necessarily all real estate folks that were bringing ideas. There was individuals.
So they're doing that survey. And then getting ideas about what people want in town, I think we should do a survey, so that might be helpful, because they've done it before though, but there are some, it'd be good to have the,
Well, I think
Chamber of Commerce and people kind of looking for what can be put in those buildings. And maybe those people at Tiger Fuel have some ideas too,
Bill, look, do me a favor, go back and take it back like 5 years. Go with town guys, look and see where we are right now, go back 5 years and go back 5 years and go back 5 years. And see if we are, see the difference we are. And what I would think that you're probably gonna see is we really haven't necessarily changed a lot.
I don't think it's changed much in the years that we've been here.
Food line, I
They did
guarantee
what they did
I
what
guarantee you, when the food line, can look at it and not look at it, and that's gonna tell you your answer. Look and see when food line was here and see if it made a difference. You're gonna be able to see it with the, market. I think that's probably, it may take some, you'll probably see some stuff there. Look at the stuff when they first came in and then see, are you better 5 years later? And then take today and say, where are we gonna be in 5 years? And figure out how to get the group together and get us there. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Can I be mayor? Can I be not?
I'll be resident.
If I put my, can
I tell you,
Yeah, I'll be resident, sorry.
that's a problem, I think, but that's a bigger strategic issue, which nobody. Is a town too small? Should they actually have a lot larger area?
Have like a large house or somebody who's that.
No, I mean, even a big area.
Gotta be in town.
Town.
You have your residence.
That's an issue.
Dual resident.
One of the most engaged people are, like, you create, don't even live in town.
Well, that's an issue in, so.
Yeah.
Is there anything else really, you're gonna handle the human resources, the hiring of the clerk? So we
Yeah.
don't have anything to do with that.
So I posted that about a month ago. Third, I'm gonna wrap up and get the 2 council members. It's I told you,
Yeah,
it's Eileen and Meredith. And then have them help me with the process, because I'm running out of staff members to sit in on it.
What are you getting with that fucking stuff? Are you getting any applications?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, so I have to look through them closely and see what's, what are the good ones?
Oh, you got many, you got many.
I got about 50,
Okay.
so, but
So, yeah, but it's kind of loose,
yes,
if you got some skills somehow, you could,
anybody can apply for it.
Yeah,
It's- Yeah.
you don't have to have a DA. You have to
Um,
be good at it, yeah, my opinion. Be good.
I think you're gonna self-select with the job description for that.
Yeah.
Either way. So I'll probably have more news for you during the work session.
Hmm. Yeah,
Would probably be the soonest
yeah,
and get an update, so I'm trying to go as fast as I can, because I think once I get Clark on, I
yeah,
can focus on other things.
yeah, I know that's pretty cool, so, yeah.
And that, the pay that was on that.
Mhm.
Was that something the council said, or was that something that?
That's the same scale that I came in on
Okay.
and what's in the budget right now. Yeah.
and
So I made it clear, dependent on experience.
so the work session is,
So
The second, yeah.
Monday, I remember the exact date.
Excellent, it's probably the 15th.
the second, it's a Tuesday or Monday?
Monday.
Monday.
14.
14.
And the 2 weeks from Monday, yeah, this week. Yeah.
Job description still felt like it was pretty true. I reviewed that and went over it, added a little bit of stuff, do video conferencing, added website maintenance. Which I can't remember if it was at least typed out the way I had, so we'll see what kind of problem.
How many meetings was it? Town clerk comes to the town council meeting, every meeting?
All the town council meetings they are being meeting at.
The time, did you go all those?
And
I would-
Okay,
and-
so there's a lot of our work.
Yeah, when I got hired on, they cleared about that, they showed me that, but I worked in meetings, so it didn't feel like too much of a.
Okay.
I mentioned you were somebody, or.
So is there anything else that we?
Stepping stone. To keep the institutional memory alive, at least to fill in or a substitute. Town administrator.
Is there anything else that we need to talk about?
I guess I had one question, you talked about regarding that role. The person that you had there, Amelie, was that, how?
Town council approved.
I know that, but I was gonna say, as far as helpfulness, as far as that, what did Did Becky say anything as far as like suggestions, as far as when she was there, I'd asked her a couple times, I mean, is there anything that as a town, based on what we have, is that we should, as far as the government side, consider, I mean, as far as like a, not necessarily going now, but maybe down the road, what did she say? before
She
you do that?
suggested having some staff assistants. It lets me think a little bit about things when the phone isn't going off.
Mhm.
And then I would like to see it with a clerk. Getting in, we usually prioritize our interns for something that's a little bit more costly, which would be like planning.
Mhm.
Or, you know, somebody who's an architect doing some kind of project like that, which I think is reasonable because you get more bang for your buck out of the student. But for example, she suggested a little bit more staff capability because it allows us more time to work on various things that are kind of priorities. I think Becky felt like she had a lot more staff when she retired from Fluvanna or from Buckingham naturally. So she has been a big help.
Yeah, she was
But-
good.
I think this is a unique
She talked to me
circumstance.
about getting more, having some assistants after, like, you know, we used to have a bookkeeper here too, but I think it really struck me when she said she was astounded that the DMV had 2 or 3 DMV people, and they never did anything except DMV.
We
And I didn't realize that too, but she said they could have been answering phones, filing, doing all kinds of stuff, because they were town employees, and they were used at all as town employees.
But that was suggested by government services.
Was it really?
Turned down by.
I don't remember
Yes,
that.
yes, we
should have had
suggested
them
that.
working.
We
And should have
suggested
been
it.
filing them and having them.
We suggested that 2 or 3 times.
We did, I just said that.
And Becky,
Accountability for numbers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
they're all kind of just hanging out, you know, just.
That was suggested.
You know,
in the
people
going
like,
in.
you know, it's good, do this in direction, and, you know, you don't just say, you work for the town, I want you to do this, that.
So Becky mentioned that too. I think we had the same conversation. I would say there was probably a missed opportunity. Omni, I think anybody in that role, I found it very easy to work with them. Specifically, but to make it more to the idea that there's a lot I can pass on to somebody else between the 2 roles that would be suitable for another staff member. And then they learn a little bit about what other staff members do, but there's time with the extra staff, there's work to be done back there.
Well, I mean, it's, you know, it comes back down to, we're talking about the maintenance side, and, you know, that's a chunk. I mean, you know, I just think that there's government services, we just want to make sure that the money is well spent for what we're getting, and making sure that
You know,
everybody's on the same page of what we're expecting.
If you think of it as roles, there's a lot of bang for your buck right now, you're getting for that. There's plenty of stuff I can pass along and I feel comfortable with that, doing that job. What can get passed along and what can be reviewed
With the town clerk,
with the town clerk.
is that sort of what you're thinking, somebody, okay?
Well, the town clerk's gonna take over the stuff I did, I have to teach them and then.
But did Becky come up with any savings of time and any of that stuff that she was looking at, or is it more requirements?
Savings time, I think we were just trying to do the requirements and get as much as we could out between the 3 of us. And for a while, it was just the 2 of us,
Right.
not counting our intern. I don't think we're that far along to even have that conversation. I think I'd want to have a clerk and see what that working relationship looks like and what strengths they have from that pool. I have an inclination, but I don't want to say anything until I have some solid feeling about it.
Yeah, and I guess I wasn't, that wasn't sort of it was just a thought of, you know, as we go forward. You know, we're looking at it from the maintenance standpoint, because that's been a hot button, but making sure that that's as efficient as possible, and then trying to keep the costs down as much as possible. But getting stuff done, and the problem is, there's probably a lot of stuff within the town that has to be done that takes a lot of time because we're part of the town. And you can't get away from that.
Okay.
The town offices is pretty much a proposed vacant.
And then I think the last thing. The signs, but you guys want,
What?
you put no parking sign, but there should be
Yeah.
yes parking sign.
Yeah, yeah, and That's, really good. I just understand.
So I did ask about the flood maps, and that's really. The real thing, telling people what it is and is not in their flood zone, and I know we got. Like preliminarily approved or whatever, but do you have any follow up on that? Do you know?
I haven't seen anything, but I'm digging into that, like I said.
Really
Bill,
important.
I got it on my mind, we're talking to grant staff and Tim. And then I'm gonna dig through, previous emails, cause that one never arrived to me before the other email. So I can give, I'll try to update council, and
Yeah.
spread the word on that.
Because you have a lot of people who are forced to pay flood insurance that really don't need to because they're behind the levee.
Mhm.
And so we got the levy, we never bothered to update, not you guys, this was 30 years ago, never bothered to update it. It's cost the town people quite a bit, but it's really difficult when you're trying to convince someone to come into the town. And they're going, I gotta pay $6,000 a year for flood insurance?
Yeah.
Why? Like, yeah, good question, you know, so that's why I mean, it's really important. I got a lot of people bugging me about it.
Yeah.
You know, people that potentially want to get into this town, you know, even like, you know, barefoot, a little corn, you know, things like that. I'd like to see what actually got straightened out. And did, you know,
Alright, let me look through that.
The other thing, I mean, was down the road, I've been in contact with the fire guy, but the boat landing. And I'd like to get that new guy, we have a new guy who's doing it, it used to be Ron something or other, but. I forgot the new guy's name, but it's talked about the boat landing. If it's finished and what else can be done, because it's not exactly like it was on the map. And several people have mentioned to me about the boat landing that it should have some signs directing people to the boat landing, and there should be a sign that, you know, the Scottsville should be Scottsville boat landing road. And the biggest thing is it's got, you know, that pillar there that has, you know, that could be that should be a focus point. You can see Scottsville boat landing. Here's where the flood is, and here's where the water table is, and you know, the people have asked me, so where's the boat landing? And well, you know, that's the state, you know, they got to put some signs and say boat landing this way, public boat landing, directional sign. But anyway, it'd be nice. It looks like it's a lot better. I think they didn't do everything they wanted to do, but it's a lot better. So anyway, I'd like to see the boat landing, you know, addressed somehow. And we were going to put murals up or something. I mean, there was all kinds of ideas about for the boat landing. They had a whole presentation before I was here. It looked pretty cool. That's down the road, I guess.
So I'd agree signs to that. That I don't know who's supposed to put those, who's responsible for putting signs up.
That's to say that we don't have anything to do with that.
on Valley and Easton and West Main, that would be VDOT.
You know, right.
So it's a request to be done.
They had a meeting yesterday with me. I don't know if that even came up, but Eddie was in there with that, and they had a roundtable discussion about the. I thought they talked about the roundabout maybe, or the roads and signs and crosswalks. I think were you there yesterday?
Yeah, it was a little bit more high level, so that was like more of like a question of like, how do we go through VDOT to get maintenance of those things? And then we talked about, Route 20 as a minor arterial, as they call it. So, I think we're trying to build a relationship and maybe have conversations about them with that. I don't know what the previous relationship was like, but I think we started with strong foot.
Yeah,
But we had 2 planning commissions, 2 town council.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I heard about it. I didn't hear about the result. I'm glad they agreed that. Did they talk about the street sweeper at all? That could also be
there's not that,
that part of it.
no,
It was street sweeper that.
that's how we want.
That's out of Marl County.
Yeah, but I think you were trying to get it.
VDOT has a sweep of you.
Yeah, I think we come down and away for 2 years. I'll tell today. That's very good. He said he drive it. Because he's done it.
I think
Okay.
you say to rent it or something.
Yeah,
Yeah. VDOT would try to.
I thought Admiral County had one, so what you
They
said,
do.
they do.
They bought one, right?
And
They named it too.
Donna was gonna talk about, you know, seeing what options we have. I don't know, was any follow back up with that?
She followed up with us.
And was that a yes or no, or?
We will be on the list. We're still going.
There's a sound.
Yeah.
It stays within the urban ring.
No,
No, that's what she said.
we can't get it.
Yep.
We might be able to get it.
Okay, so I should be told, but okay.
Oh, really? I haven't heard anything either way.
But some of this is, you know. The urban areas, and we have Scottsville. Scottsville's here, we've got to figure it out. I mean, we talk about the government services, I come back to the levy operation of the pumps. I mean, I think at some point there needs to be a separate group that handles.
Yeah.
The levy.
He's already invited Tim Hart to come to one of our meetings and talk to us about that, so.
Yeah,
Or, yeah, because I think we do need to get that input. What they need from us for the levy and for the big creek. And reservoir.
Yeah, I'll talk to him soon and then follow up with that.
Yeah,
I need to kind of get myself oriented with that.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
chatted today about
good,
yeah, that's great, yeah.
it.
Okay.
Some of that ace.
because that's coming, that may not exist anymore, so we need to be looking at. Giving that.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
All right.
All right, you ready for dinner?
No, I have to, well, I was, but I, and I'll try to.
Thank
Is there anything specific that I could do, let me know.
You were. Southeastern over. Wait, after.